Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sam Kwok here, one of the Kwok brothers, and today we got Brandon
Schlichter.
There we go. And we're in this awesome town, which I can't seem to pronounce, which is
Chillicothe, Ohio.
Chillicothe, Ohio, which has me as the only Asian guy, except for the guy in the dry cleaning store down the street. But every time I walk into the gas station, they kind of look at me funny.
Yeah.
You know, they treat me like the guy from Walking Dead, Glenn, or the guy from what's that? Harold and Kumar.
Oh yeah,
White Castle, yeah. Like I should not walk into any White Castles here today, but we got a laundromat that we're gonna walk into and give you a little tour. Brandon's running a very successful operation. He's got 140 rental properties here in this town, and he's got 2 laundromats.
3 laundromats.
3 laundromats. I miscounted, sir.
Yeah. 2. 3 total. This one's the running one.
So, okay, yep. And yeah, so we're gonna go take a look how he's doing. We're gonna ask him some questions. As a beginner myself in laundromat, and we're gonna see how it goes. So
all right, awesome.
Let's go and take a tour.
Okay. So this is the laundromat that I've been doing videos on for YouTube.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me what all you want to know, but this is all nice. Of it in its glory or horror, depending on how you want to look at it.
Okay. So first question is, obviously right now no one's here.
Yes.
Do you have a peak hour when?
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are typically for laundromats. Monday through Thursday, you do minimal business. On Fridays and Saturdays, usually 2 of those 3 days will equal the entire volume you do between Monday and Thursday. That's just kind of a typical. This is not a 24-hour laundromat. It used to be a 24-hour laundromat back in the day, and we stopped doing it, or at least when I took it over, because of just nonstop problems here. Customers would come in 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'd find people sleeping in here. Behind those doors that we never go past on our video. There used to be this big dryer room back there.
Wow.
And people would come in and they actually had tents set up back there, sleeping bags and all this crazy stuff. And so as much problems and craziness that I have with this laundromat as it sits today, when it was a 24-hour laundromat, it was significantly worse.
I know we talked a little bit about your story in our other interview. Just for those folks that haven't seen that, how did you get started in this? I know there's a story behind how you got a sweet deal.
Yeah, this laundromat, I've got 2 others that are being renovated right now. This one is the most recent one that I bought, but it's also in the best shape. There was a guy named Wesley. He used to own this. He bought this in '84. And he passed away in, I think it was 2014. His mom was executor of his estate, and she took it over for a while. Me and my buddy Sean, we met with her, back in 15-ish, 16-ish. She had run it for a while, but she physically wasn't capable of doing it. She said, I have a problem with taking all the quarters to the bank, which seems like an odd issue. So we met with Wesley's mom, and we made her an offer. I think we offered her 40 or 45K for it. Okay. And she said, oh, that's too low. Another person came in, made her an offer of 50K. Then they had their official inspection, and the inspection just bombed, which I knew it would. So then he ended up buying it for 35K, did some renovations in it, redid some of the apartments upstairs. Okay. He has a bunch of other businesses, some coin-operated businesses, big-time entrepreneur, real nice guy. And he gave it to someone that worked for him or was associated with him as their little, hey, you want a job here, go maintain the laundromat. Right. And it was just too much for them. They couldn't keep any of the equipment working. If you've watched my content before, you think that having I've got like 4 washers down and 2 dryers back there that are kind of iffy on working. They had 90% of their equipment down.
Wow.
At any given time. And people sleeping back there, people sleeping on the washers and stuff. I mean, just constant problems. So they shuttered it back in the first part of 2018. They were trying to sell it, but I knew the owner because I knew the guy because he's I hate to use the term competitor, but he's another investor in this market. And with being a small town, everybody knows everybody. And I told him, I said, hey, if you ever want to sell it and finance it, let me know.
Right.
So eventually, over the course of probably 6 months, he tried selling it for $135,000. No one was capable of buying it. Yeah. And I went back to him. I said, just remind. I kept remember that
Yeah.
if you ever want to finance it, let me know.
Right.
And so we went.
Keys in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We followed, cold, just warm follow-ups every so often. Hey, just remember, I've got money if you're interested. And he finally came back and said, all right, I'll finance it. I think we're at a 6 or 7% note. I had to pony up $15,000 to purchase it. Then we spent another $40 on renovations. I know it doesn't look like it, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it looked a heck of a lot better than what you found it at. So.
It is even worse when I got it. So that's kind of the deal structure. I've got a private partner out in California on this place. He ponied up the down payment and the renovation funds because I don't like spending.
That's how we do it.
I don't like spending any money on anything out of my own pockets. I think we made $5,000 or $6,000 last year, but it's a situation where I'm just trying to get the business profitable enough, so that I can go and get financing for a complete gut and renovation. So as time goes on and we keep increasing the net revenue numbers, it gets more advantageous, or at least I feel more comfortable with coming in and doing a full gut on the place, putting all new equipment in here. We got stuff that you can activate with your phone. You can put your clothes in, pay it, leave the laundromat, and then it'll send you a text. It'll send you a text message or a push notification on your phone. Hey, your washer's done. Washer number 18's completed cycle. That's where we're headed with it, but it's just a slow process, and I'm trying to document the slow process over YouTube videos, and they blew up for better or worse. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
We noticed that. So a lot of these machines, I can see they're down.
Yes.
And I'm guessing over time it's gonna.
My brother comes in and he maintains things. Some of these machines we've put out of service tags on. Not so much because they're broken, but like these two here, people screw around with the mechanisms. I've been here with customers, and they, when it says $4 here, they put $2 in it. You're supposed to double stack quarters on it side by side, and they'll get $2 in here. They won't read the thing, and then they'll start pushing this in. It won't work, and the way that it's designed, it stops the mechanism. You have to put $4 in it. So then they start beating the heck out of this, and there's a little rod in here that they have essentially bent on all four of these machines, and we're to the point now that this one is failing. I want to say 50% of the time. So 50% of the people that use that, they don't get their use out of it. So we just put an out of service tag on it, and hopefully they don't use it. But then I have people that very regularly, they come in, they rip off the out of service tag, then they try to use it, call me, and they get aggravated that they've lost their money.
Awesome.
So these top load washers, they're all pieces of junk. They're also cheap. They cost about $1,000 a piece. And typically with a lot of people, they go out and have a preference for these kinds of machines. My brother runs an appliance business, and he said, man, these things last 10 years. They don't. They last about 5 years. And you figure out the depreciation on a machine like this. After a while, they become very expensive to utilize, maintain. They use 45 gallons of water per cycle. Those ones over there, they hold 3 loads of these, and they use, I think, 50 gallons per cycle. Thankfully, here in Southern Ohio, we're blessed with cheap water. If you're an investor or an individual from California, they have huge water costs. So the cost to operate one of these washers, it might be for the laundromat owner, it might cost $1 worth of water, as compared to the ultra high efficiency ones, which those are over there are pretty good, but they're not great. They might do a load with 25 cents of water.
You own and manage 140 rentals.
Yes.
How is that management process different than managing this?
This one has a lot more back and forth with customers. Usually on my better rentals, it's a set and forget system. I get a good tenant in there. They pay their rent every month. They have a maintenance request every couple months or whatever. There's a problem, they go out. With this one, if we're busy, I get a couple calls every day. Oh, this Brandon, there's soap on the floor. Brandon, there's this, there's this. There's a bit more different management headaches. I don't have to interact with my rental side as much with individual customers as I do here. I also don't do any maintenance whatsoever myself on my rentals. I've got contractors that I deal with. With this, it's been a lot more hands-on because I've had to find a different group of people with completely different skill sets.
Sure.
So I've got some people that are good at the washer machines. I got other people that are good with the vending machines.
Yeah.
I got another guy that deals with the coin pusher over there. So that's 3 different contractors with 3 different skill sets that I have to deal with, as compared to my rentals, where typically the same people have done the same thing the whole time.
Right. So you bought this at 2000, well, last year essentially.
Yes.
2019.
April 2009 is when I purchased the laundromat, and we opened the second week of July. So I think it's like July the 14th of 2019.
Gotcha.
So we've been open for
8 months.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you questions from the perspective, because I'm actually interested, right?
Sure.
The only thing, I mean, the only mini laundromat I have is I have a 4 unit that has a little laundromat in the basement, right?
Yes.
It's the only laundromat operation I got. And I enjoy collecting coins. It's a lot of fun. So as a complete beginner, I mean, obviously you have some real estate experience. What is the biggest thing as a beginner they need to look out for in terms of buying or acquiring a laundromat?
The big thing is, I'm going to do a whole video series on this, is a lot of laundromat owners lie.
You lie.
A lot of people look at a laundromat and they say, oh my gosh, I can cheat on taxes. And let's be real honest about it, it's a cash business, and I've met a lot of people that say, oh, I can start getting cash in. And then they report minimum income to the IRS. So when it comes time for you as a private individual to buy the laundromat, you're like, I want to buy this laundromat. How much money does it make?
Right,
They bring out 2 books. One is what they've reported to the IRS, and the other book is what they actually make. And I've talked to a couple of these guys in the area, and I'm like, so you realize when I go and take this deal to the bank, they're going to look at your tax returns. They don't care whatsoever. A good laundromat owner, their books are totally straight, and they're right there, handed to you on a silver platter. And they tend to sell for a lot higher than the guy. Well, my cousin empties those washers, and he makes, he gets to take $25 out of the washers a day. I mean, I hear that stories all the time. They're also, to me, the more rundown laundromats, and there's also a bigger potential, because from my perspective, the only person they can sell to is another guy that's going to do that.
Right, and
another guy.
And also that opens up an opportunity for owner financing too.
Yes.
Yeah, because again, for those who don't know, the income that a business generates ultimately perpetuates the value of the business, right? So if your tax return says you're only making $10,000 a month when really you're collecting $100,000, and you bring you're trying to sell the business, and the other person who's looking to buy the business, they're not going to get the financing because there's no income showing on the tax return that would perpetuate the value of the business. So that's actually really good to hear, because now I'm thinking there's so much owner financing opportunity on laundromats, especially situations like the older lady that once owned this property and the laundromat. They don't want to take care of it. So they're more than likely want to do an owner financing situations unlike this.
And so those opportunities are there, in my opinion, all over. We're in Southern Ohio. Lots of older people, lots of people wanting to get out of business. But then there's also there's so much opportunity for a person to go in and talk to an owner, to wheel and deal, to make a deal, to do owner financing, to just start asking questions and say, hey, how can I help you? Because there's tax advantages to doing owner financing. Everybody can get a huge benefit over financing. But the thing is, you have to work hard. You have to be willing to go out and make a deal. You can't. My biggest complaint, or the problem that I see, is a lot of people want to do this without work. If it was that easy to do without work, then everybody would do it.
Right. Exactly.
If you build relationships, you can do extravagantly well. To me, from my perspective, there's just money everywhere. You just have to be willing out to go out and work. So.
If I were to go shop around, look for a laundromat, I mean, anywhere around the country, I mean, there's got to be a market. There's got to be a demand for it, right? I can't just go down the street and like, hey, I'm going to open a laundromat. It looks like right. So what would you look for when buying a laundromat?
I would want to see something that has customers coming to it.
Right.
I can point out a couple laundromats that nobody goes to, and they'd be terrible locations. I have no clue why they're still in operation, but nobody goes to them. Decently, in my opinion, the golden goose would be there's customers coming in, but it looks terrible. So then there's some opportunity.
Well, I mean, there's so much wiggle room in a laundromat where you can squeeze in an extra dollar, right? I mean, you got I noticed the vending machine,
Yes.
The ATM parked there,
Yes.
more vending machines. I mean, you can even offer like a Wi-Fi service. I mean, I'm thinking of all sorts of different.
There's 100 ways
avenues,
to make
right?
money if you have a location like this.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to work for everybody. I talk to people that have vending machines. They do terrible on vending machines. And I asked them, I said, what's the biggest money maker in your laundromat? Oh, consignment store. What? They sell thrift clothes.
No
and
kidding.
they make as much money off a little 20 by 20 area of the laundromat. It's a big laundromat. So I guess when I say 20, a little but 20 by 20,
Yeah,
I guess
20
it's relative.
feet by 20 feet. So
20
about
feet by
400
20
square
feet. So it'd be huge compared to
Yeah,
this
it
place.
is.
But they sell clothes. And she said, oh yeah, I sell a couple $1,000s a week in clothes.
I'm guessing they're like leftovers.
I'm sure some are, but some of them are like, it's like she runs her own Once Upon a Child, her own kids thrift store there.
Got it.
It's kid driven, but it's not entirely.
Yeah, because I mean, think about the amount of monetization you can get out of people just waiting, right? Just sitting around,
Yep.
they're reading newspaper or whatever. I mean, the time that they're spending, you can provide whatever entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much avenue out of the laundromat. It's awesome. Just as a complete beginner, right? How much time do you need to invest in a given month to run a business like this?
This specific one, I spend less than 15 hours a month doing my portion of it. It should be 5. My involvement in this laundromat theoretically should be me coming, not filming quarter collections, but running through, collecting the quarters, doing a real quick 15-minute gloss over once a week to make sure that my crew's doing the right thing, refill the coin machine, and then head out of here. One of my investors, not with this laundromat, but with other business I have, is the landlord that evicted my family when we were 6. And as time goes on, it's one of those things where I've really grown to like this guy.
Yeah.
And you know, when something traumatic like that happens to you when you're a kid, and you're, why would he kick us out? Why would this is so mean? As an adult, it's like, well, you know, your family wasn't the most financially stable. He ran a business. He had to sell the property. And your family simply wasn't in a position to purchase it. So he sold it.
Right.
And it's nothing wrong. You know, it's not that this is a mean businessman like my parents really felt he was. He was a guy doing business. And as time goes on, I really like this guy's advice because he's drawing on 40 plus years of business experience in real estate. He lives in Florida now, but he did real estate investments here. And he said, Brandon, number one, nobody, and I've heard this from so many investors, nobody cares about your money as much as you do. And number two, his statement was, don't let anybody have the keys to your money. Yep. Because he said, when you have a cash business like this, everybody wants to take in and dip a little. That's something that I need to get. Everything in here needs to be outsourced other than the money collection. Sure. And then doing that, 5 hours a month. Yep.
So let's put this in a relative term. 5 hours a month. I mean, you're really looking at an hour in a weekend, right?
Yes.
I mean, ideally. And how much? Just a ballpark. I mean, you don't have to give us everything, but what are you generating as far as income?
This one's really low. It's only about $4,000 or $5,000 a month. My net on that's about $1,000 to $1,500, and that's because we're constantly having breakdowns on equipment. If I get new equipment in here that is more reliable, that won't break down as much, that I don't have to call maintenance in, it'll boost my appeal. I think that I'll be bringing in $5,000 to $6,000 a month on 5, maybe 6 hours a week, or 5 or 6 hours a month.
Well, and that's something I see typically also, even in a multifamily management, is when you first initially buy an asset, it's not going to be the most cash cow asset. There's got to be a lot of value add, raise the rents, cut down costs, which ultimately cuts down the amount of hours you have to put into managing it. So once everything's said and done on net, your hourly net should be $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yep. And I've talked about that on my YouTube channel. I said, you know, there's things that I've done that have made me $5,000 an hour. And I'm sure there are deals that you've done that are home runs. It's like, I made over $1,000 an hour. Yeah. And people have this mentality. I've talked to people, and they have this mentality of, I'm going to invest money, I'm never going to do anything with it. I'm not that. I'm going to have to go in and manage this thing a couple hours a month, and I'm going to make $1,000 an hour while doing it because I've built these systems into place. I've made the operation really efficient. So from my aspect, I can go in and manage it. then it becomes this thing of, okay, so what's the next step? Is it hiring somebody under me that's going to be paid 100, 150 bucks an hour to manage this asset for me, and then I'll go on to the next thing, to where my time investment's no longer, you know, making that $1,000 or $2,000 an hour. It's going to be making $50,000 an hour. So the thing that we all have in common is we only have 24 hours in a day, and no matter what any one of us does, we can't make more time. So that time has to essentially be outsourced to somebody else, and then it becomes a quality. You know, how can I find somebody, train somebody, utilize somebody to make this process more efficient?
That's awesome, Brandon. So any final parting words?
No, just get out there and do it. Lot of, you know, I like the internet. It's brought us all this value, but there's still a lot of huge value in going and meeting people face to face.
Oh, for sure.
Like
here,
what
we're doing now. Yeah, I drove 5 stinking hours just to meet this man, right? But there's a huge benefit in that, right? Instead of just chatting online, I think, you know, there's this magic that happens when you meet a person in person. So, but hey, Brandon, I learned a lot from this you know, little trip to your laundromat. And for those who are wanting to start a laundromat, and we talked about this in our prior video, how running a laundromat successfully can be a very good passive income business. And you can see here Brandon is on his way of mitigating it down to 5 hours. And I can imagine you'll probably get to the point where you're not spending much time here.
I've got a growth plan over the next 2 to 3 years to have somebody take it over and then me not do anything.
Yeah, but still profiting from it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So that's awesome. Well, do this every 2 to 3 years and you have an outstanding business. So be sure to click like and subscribe to our channel. And who knows, we'll get Brandon back. And this time he'll be in Chicago. We'll see.
Maybe.
Right? So thanks, guys. I'll see you in another video.